So, hurry. Hurry is something that we all face, especially in the times that we live in. Everything is just so fast. Obviously, the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, just came out, and I'm sure people can really relate to it. Just the angst that we kind of have because of the technology and because of the pace of life that we're moving at. And this sense of hurry, even when you're just trying to relax, even when you have free time, even when you don't have anything on your schedule, you just feel this overwhelming sense that you're behind. If you ever felt this, I know I felt this. That's what we're going to be covering in this book series by John Mark Comer over his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Part 1 of today's book summary is Hurry as the Great Enemy of Spiritual Life. So oftentimes when people think of Satan or the devil, they think of a guy with a pitchfork and horns, trying to, spit fire at people. But I think that is a gross misrepresentation. I think you'll far more likely encounter the enemy in the form, and as is referenced in the book, in the form of a text message while you're reading your Bible, a multi-day, Netflix binge, where you're just completely, binging out and just giving your life away to it, or a complete dopamine addiction to Instagram. Corey Ten Boom, all these things I'm going to be saying are referenced from the book, and so I'm just going to be teaching them as if, from that reference. Corey Ten Boom says that if the devil can't cause you to sin, he'll make you busy. And I think that it is because it serves the same effect. Both sin and hurriedness causes a disconnection between you and God, you and others, and you and your own soul. Think about the common courtesy question we always ask each other. How are you doing? What's the most common answer we always get back? Oh, I'm good. Just busy. Oh, okay. What about you? Yeah, just busy all the time, especially me being in college. I feel like that's the only response that people give all the time is, man, I'm just really busy. So obviously that's something that we always feel. One of the biggest things that I have been realizing in my own life is that a lot of people have great intentions to change their life and become better people, to become actualized people, to fulfill their highest potential. But the greatest thing they're running into is that they're just too busy and over-hurried to live emotionally healthy, spiritual lives. And I really think that's the case. I don't think that throwing more programs at people is what's gonna solve a lot of problems. I think it's figuring out what we're talking about in this book, and this is really at the heart of all the change that I believe that you want to make and that I want to make. I think it's that we are a little bit too hurried. I think one thing that any we can all agree on is that when it comes to living a joy-filled life, the number one key to that is presence to the moment. And how could one be present to the moment if they're always in a hurry? A hurried person is always living in the future or always living in the past, but never in the moment. I can tell you, and what about you from your own experience as well, when you feel hurried, do you just feel like you're not even there, like you're just in so many places at once? That is the opposite of presence to the moment. So point number 2 is a brief history of speed. The first clock was erected in Cologne, Germany, and before that, time was really more natural and connected to the sun. You had longer days in the summer for the working season and shorter days in the winter for more rest. And according to the book, one historian said that in this time period when we started relying on clocks and integrating clocks with our everyday life, it was when we declared independence from the sun. One of the interesting facts that I was reading in this book was that before Edison invented the light bulb, people averaged 11 hours of sleep a night. In times past, we would write letters to each other instead of texting just a quick emoji. We would walk places instead of driving cars and public transportation. We would prepare our own food instead of getting fast food takeout. So obviously, none of these things are inherently bad, but clearly we have these labor-saving devices. We have microwaves, we have fast food, we have cars. So where did all that extra time go that now they do save us time, surely, but where did all that extra time go? The answer to the question of where all the time went is that we used it towards other things. We used it towards things like social media. Think of a slot machine. Many people don't go on social media for 6 hours at a time, but many people will go and check their phone 1 minute here, 2 minutes there, 3 minutes there, and think in the same way that a slot machine works, just little increments at a time, little increments that don't seem like they're that much, that don't seem that valuable, but when you give enough amounts of it, it compounds. And so you have let's say 80 to 200 couple minute checks throughout the day, and next thing you know, all that free time you saved with these things that we're talking about, the labor saving technologies, you've given away to technology, given away to your smartphones. A lot of the times it really is the smartphones. What do you think? I mean, scrolling on Instagram, watching a Netflix show, checking Facebook, checking our DMs, checking messages, checking email, all those small little checks throughout the day, and next thing you know, all your free time is gone. Unfortunately, and I have come to experience this on my own, so you're not alone in this if you're feeling this way as well. Because of the way that our generation grew up with so much access to phone and with access to a faster computer, our brains are starting to try to become like a computer, even though that's not what it's supposed to be. We have souls, and I think that when we have been trained to be in this feedback loop of dopamine hits, one of the psychologists that was mentioned in the book says that because we grew up in a generation where it's just constant, we're in a dopamine feedback loop of getting a like, getting a notification, getting a text message, getting an email, and then just waiting for that next thing. We have a constant partial state of attention. We are never present to the moment. And I think that's unfortunate, but I'm so glad that there is a resolution to this, which was what we're going to get to. Addiction is the relentless pull to an activity or a substance that interferes with daily life. And so from that definition, I'm curious, if you don't think you fall into that category, I would challenge you to take a 24-hour complete fast from your phone. Just shut it off for 24 hours and see if you can make it. I did that challenge last week as I was preparing and writing this video, and I was able to do it, thankfully. But that, like I said, this is my third time through the book, so I have been putting those things into practice. I have a phone safe where I try to lock my phone up a lot of the times. So I think that's what made it a little bit easier for me. I'm curious how many of you guys are going to do this. If you're going to do it, comment down below that say, hey, as you're watching this video, just say, hey, I'm going to do the challenge, and then let us know the next day if you were able to do it or not. I'd really be curious to know. And yeah, challenge is up. Let's see if you can do it. So obviously what we're advocating for here in this book is not, returned to, anti-technology. Obviously, I love Google Maps. I'm sure you love Google Maps too. The author says, he doesn't have any intention of, farming for a couple of decades, then dying of gout. We don't want to do that. But technology was meant to be was a tool that we created for us, and so it should be evaluated just like anything else. And he references in the book as well. Gandhi wisely said that there is more to life than increasing speed. So let's evaluate this technology and make it ours again instead of having the technology use us for its own means. Part number 3 for the video today, and just finishing things off, we are going over the section something is deeply wrong. This is where the author starts talking about a thing called hurry sickness. I'll read off the definition to you because I have it read here. A behavior pattern characterized by continual rushing and anxiousness, a malaise in which a person feels chronically short of time and so tends to perform every task faster and tends to get flustered when encountering any kind of delay. When I read that definition the first time, I was like, man, that's definitely how I feel a lot of the times. That's definitely how I feel. And people that were characterizing these things were working maybe since the 1950s, I think, on different studies, and they gave 3 symptoms of hurry sickness that you might be. And I'll tell you, I checked off all 3 of them. Here's number 1, that when we're in a checkout line at the grocery store, we try to find the line with the least amount of people in it. And number 2 would be that when you're driving in your car and you come to a stoplight, you count the cars at the light and you try to get in the lane that is the shortest. Definitely do that one. And then 3 is multitasking to the point of forgetting one of the tasks. So I don't know, how many did you get? I would love to know. Were you 1 out of 3? The author actually goes into even more symptoms below, and I think those will be very helpful. Let's go into there. So the author gave 10 symptoms of hurry sickness, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you them. Number 1 is irritability. Irritability in the sense that, the smallest things that shouldn't bug you really do bug you. You kind of have a low-grade negativity. Number 2 kind of ties in with number 1, and it's hypersensitivity. It's just that if someone says a minor comment to you, or you get a bland text message or a dry text message that you interpret it as. It really just sets you off and it can put you in a bad mood. Number 3 would be restlessness, and that is obviously when you just can't seem to slow down. When you really do have, a 6-hour period where there's not much to do, you just can't seem to enjoy that time without thinking about what's to do next. You try to read your Bible, but you get distracted. You find it boring. You try to fold laundry, but you're also, on Instagram scrolling and watching a TV show at the same time. You're just always in a state of not being able to be at peace. Number 4 is workaholism, also tied into the previous one, but this one is more specific to where you're kind of living off of the drugs of achievement and accomplishment, and you just can't seem to stop, and you run into sunset fatigue, which is where at the end of the day you're just so spent that when you go home to your friends, to your family, you just have nothing to give them. Number 5, emotional numbness. So that would be that you just don't have the capacity to feel another's pain, to empathize with them, and you just feel like, you see someone that's struggling or having a certain thing going on in their life, and you just feel like I don't have it in me to understand, and I just don't have time for this. Number 6 is out of order priorities. You feel constantly disconnected from your calling. You just feel like all the things that you're doing are menial tasks that mean nothing, and they're so disconnected from what you truly want to be doing. You fall victim to the tyranny of the urgent things in life and not the important things in life. Number 7 would be lack of care for your body. This is, just not doing the basic things, getting your 8 hours of sleep, exercising daily, eating good healthy foods. On the contrary, you might be living off of caffeine, processed food, sweets, things of that sort, alcohol. Number 8 would be escapist activities. In these situations, you're going to, whatever is your comfort, whether that be overeating, over drinking, binge watching on Netflix, just binging on social media, pornography. Any of those things are just the negative feedback loop that you go into whenever you are just trying to escape from this hurriedness. So that's escapist behaviors. Number 9 is the slippage of spiritual disciplines. Obviously, many of us, when we get really busy, the first things to go are our spiritual disciplines. Let's say Bible reading, scripture memorization, prayer, worship. Oftentimes, funny enough, that when we're not taking care of ourselves well, or when we're overhurried and super busy, we completely neglect those things and instead go to things like binge watching on Netflix. And unfortunately, how many of you have ever got done, extremely binge watching something while overeating and finished and just were like, man, I feel really refreshed, energized, and ready to go. We are just cutting ourselves short by doing this one, because when we spend time with God, we come out of it feeling refreshed, energized, with connecting with our Creator. And so that is slippage of spiritual disciplines is number 9. Number 10 would be isolation. This is a disconnection from God and from others. And even when you're with people, you just feel alone. You feel constantly in a state of just being disconnected, constantly thinking about, the next thing to do on the to-do list, or just going to your phone and feeling like you're in your own isolated world just by yourself. One thing the author makes very clear is that after evaluating these things and seeing, which ones that you resonate with most, don't feel any guilt or shame. It's not the purpose of the exercise. It's rarely ever from God and not helpful at all. At the end of the day, the purpose of going through these things is just to identify the problem that's stealing life from us, which is hurriedness. It is hurriedness, and it's killing us, and it's killing our souls, and it's taking our attention. And the attention and what we give our attention to is the person that we become. Like Jesus said, wherever our attention or wherever our heart goes, it just shows that's what we treasure most. And so, I don't know, in our own times, do you feel like where you're spending the most attention, do you feel like that's really where your heart desires to spend it the most? I would argue that it's not. I would argue that you're being pulled, into activities that are just taking and stealing your time from you. And I want to help, and the author of this book wants to help along that issue. So in review, this was part 1 of the book, identifying the problem at hand. We got to learn that hurry is a great enemy in our spiritual life and our growth. Number 2, this new period in history of busyness and speed and hurriedness is relatively new. And number 3, hurry sickness is a problem that is most likely affecting all of us. So the author asks you and me, do you feel like you've lost a part of your soul? Maybe even a little bit. And do you want to get it back? If so, let's keep going on in this process, and we'll go to part 2 together. Part 2 is where we're going to be talking about a solution to all this madness of hurriedness. And so if you want to continue on and figure out the solution with me, we can go ahead and go through it together. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way, obviously, you can get notified when the next part comes out. Also, I post the same kind of content on my Instagram and TikTok if you wanted to follow me there, and we can connect there. If not, we'll go ahead and talk about it next time, and I look forward to just speaking with you and going on this journey again with you soon.